go up against the likes of Samsung and Google's own line of Pixel phones, LG needs to set itself apart. And in the past, it hasn't done this so well. LG has always been like the Galaxy S's feeble little brother, always trying to be as good but never really getting there. But LG has been trying its best, and phones like the V30 and the G6 were steps in the right direction. Now it's ready to debut yet another flagship, the LG G7. When I first took the LG G7 out of the box, I was struck by just how beautiful it was. It has a gorgeous svelte body that's curved in all the right ways, and the one I received is clad in a luscious raspberry red hue. And then I noticed the notch. Oh dear. Yes, right at the top of the LG G7's beautiful 6.1-inch QHD Plus LCD display is a notch, similar to the one on the iPhone X. While the rest of the phone's screen reaches edge to edge, that little notched area accommodates the front-facing camera. Immediately, I felt disappointed that such a beautiful phone was marred by the presence of an obnoxious notch, even if it seems to be a trend. Thankfully, LG seems to have thought of a workaround. It's in the form of something called a new second screen, which is a rethinking of LG's original second screen idea that it used on its previous phones. On the G7, the so-called second screen is used to fill up the areas on either side of the notch with a black bar or gradient background. It's also home to the symbols you usually see at the top of the display, like your battery life and network signal strength. And strangely, it works. When the second screen is active, the notch seemingly blends into the rest of the phone's screen. Frankly, I love it. The display looks much cleaner this way. There's one caveat with the second screen though. It doesn't work with all apps. It only works with the home and menu screens or the browser. But you'll still see that protruding notch in apps like Gmail and Maps. This is certainly something to consider, especially since Samsung has specifically dodged the notch with the Galaxy S9. Whether or not you like the notch, the rest of the phone's features might be enough to win you over. Like that aforementioned display, for example. It really is a sight to behold, with vivid, vibrant color and brightness that rivals the OLED panels on other phones. What's especially compelling is a super bright display mode, which uses white subpixels that can result in a whopping 1000 nit brightness for outdoor use. Tap the boost button next to the screen brightness slider and this will temporarily brighten the display with all 1000 nits for around 3 minutes. It really makes the display that much more legible in bright sunlight. The LG G7 was made to be used outdoors. But the G7 is no slouch indoors either, especially in terms of camera and audio quality. It has a dual 16-megapixel rear camera with wide and telephoto lenses, and a front-facing 8-megapixel one for better selfies. There's also a beautification mode that'll help blur out any flaws. The star of the show here is LG's AI-powered camera, which identifies objects in the scene and calibrates the best settings automatically. So if you're taking a photo of your dinner, for example, it'll automatically switch to the food setting. In tests, it was pretty hit or miss in terms of identifying objects. It seems to think my watch is a ham, for example, but LG says the algorithm is still learning, at least for now. What I found especially impressive is the camera's super bright mode, which makes low light images look remarkably bright and rich with color, even in a dark room. The results usually aren't as impressive as what you get out of, say, the Huawei P20 Pro, but it's much faster and in most cases that's good enough. One more LG G7 feature that I love, it has a 3.5mm headset jack. Call me old school, but I still like using regular wired headphones and being able to listen to tunes while charging my phone at the same time. It doesn't hurt that LG squeezed a quad DAC inside to provide high-fidelity audio playback to anyone who wants it. Speaking of listening to tunes, the LG G7 also boasts one of the better built-in speakers out there. It has a boombox speaker feature that is supposedly 10 times louder than the competition. While I can't say that for sure, it's easily one of the loudest smartphones I've ever heard. That said, volume doesn't always equal quality, and I still found the audio to be a touch tinny and hollow, at least on a standard table surface. LG has said that putting it on different solid surfaces helps, but I only noticed a marginal difference. Last but not least, the LG G7 has a dedicated Google Assistant button, a first for an Android phone. It immediately pops up Google's personal assistant without you having to say, "Okay Google." I much prefer a physical button over voice commands. It's easier and faster for me, so this has quickly become another favorite feature. The fingerprint sensor on the back, which is the same on Samsung's Galaxy S9 and Google's Pixel 2, is a nice touch as well. I have to say, as fond as I am of the G7, it faces some serious competition in the form of Samsung's Galaxy S9 and Google's own line of Pixel phones, both of which look just as good and run very well, and don't have that notch. Sure, the LG G7 might have a dedicated Google Assistant button and that AI-enabled camera, but will that be enough to change people's minds? Who knows, but for me personally, the beautiful build quality combined with software smarts has won me over. Notch and all.